tots.
I feel like we always start every
I
day
know.
laughing.
That's good. Laughter is the best medicine.
It is definitely.
Also, you know what? I like saying Happy Truthful Tuesday. I feel like we should still continue that.
And that could totally still be our hashtag, like hashtag Truthful Tuesday,
Oh,
Happy
totally.
Truthful Tuesday, because we post it on Truthful Tuesday.
And we have to speak our truth.
Yeah.
Because Oprah said.
I didn't expect you to say that because Oprah said so.
Although we were doing it before she said that.
Yeah, exactly.
Today's episode is how life is a roller coaster.
Mm-hmm.
It truly is. We
Yes.
have our moments. You know, we always expect to be climbing and ascending to that high, but we forget that with a high must come a low. So it's that build up, right? We're like chug, 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 and then we're like,
Oh shit!
and most of us want to control that descent, but we can't. You gotta literally just throw your hands up and go with it. Just let go and scream.
Yes. And honestly, like when you get off of a roller coaster, it is exhilarating, right? It's like so much fun, and you talk about the highs and the lows, and like you're like, oh my god, that fall was incredibly scary. It was so high and it fell so low so fast, but then we got right back up and it was just so much fun, right?
Yeah.
Like I think at the end of the day, regardless of how many highs and lows you have, you can still talk about them in an exhilarating way. It's just as exciting, and you need to think of both situations that way because they're both essential for your growth.
Yeah.
And for you to really enjoy life.
Yeah.
You have to have the roller coaster of life.
Yeah,
the highs and the lows.
you have to appreciate the highs and the lows.
Yeah.
Because there isn't just you stay up here.
No.
I feel like, I mean, in Eastern philosophy, the just staying up here is when you finally are in tune with God, like
Definitely.
one with God again.
Yeah. And I think that when it comes to life and when we go through hard times, I think that even for myself, when my life just progressed and I mean, it just totally changed in such a positive way that I was like, oh, yeah, I found all the answers, right? Like, I had such a high, I was so happy and so fulfilled that then when I faced a low, I was like, whoa, wait a minute. I thought that we were done with this.
Yeah.
Like, I thought that we were just rising. And you are gonna rise. You always continue rising. It's not like you rise and then when you fall to the bottom again and then you're never gonna see yourself rise again.
You're rising, but when you fall again or when you start coming towards that low again, it's never as low as the low before that.
Exactly.
So it's like a up, down, and then up higher, and then down a little. But that low point is still above the last low point.
And what's great is that it doesn't mean that the lows you experience are not just as bad or worse than the things you've experienced, because you could easily then lose a loved one and it be an extreme low, but it gives you the momentum you need to go higher. And I think that's like, I've learned to see the lows, even if it is an extreme low one, or even if it's lower than the low I experienced before, it just propels you so much higher because you're going that low. And if you don't go that low ever, you're never gonna reach higher points because you don't have the momentum to take you higher. You can only excel and exceed and reach higher points and exceed your limits if you hit a rock bottom again. You know, it's part of the ride. You know, it's just like I saw a video once I was talking about like a pendulum swing, and when you get really, really, really high up, you have to come all the way back again, right?
Yeah.
But you come all the way back, and then the next time you go higher.
Yeah, because
right?
it's swinging back and forth.
Back
it's going
and
from a
forth.
high, and then you go low, and then high, and then you come,
even higher.
I guess in the graph example I was giving, when I say you don't end up as low as before, it's not that you don't have something that happens, like you said, like say a death of a loved one. It's just that your highs are building you up so much now because of your confidence or how you pull yourself out of those situations, that even if you do have a situation like that happens, it never keeps you that low for as long anymore, because you've learned how to climb out of it better or more successfully.
For sure.
So
because of how much you've risen.
Yeah.
Definitely. It's true, and that's why it's important to view those lows as that, right? As something that will help you rise.
It's a learning and growing experience.
It is, yeah. And if you don't see them like that, then you won't rise, right? It's almost like you're in a low and then you're trying to get up, but you're not getting up. You're not gonna fully rise. It's like your roller coaster is probably broken down.
Maintenance.
Yes,
and that's what, you know what, and that's when you ask for outside help. Like if you're at a point where you're stuck on that ride,
like
that's when you seek something outside of you for guidance. I mean, people come to us for guidance and help because they don't know how to get that roller coaster of life working again. You know,
absolutely.
And there's different resources. There's psychiatrists. There's therapists, there's counselors,
friends.
There's people like us, friends, family even.
I mean, we reach out to people. I think that a lot of times people think that we just have the answers to everything. And like the only reason we are as high and ascended as we are is because we have had so many situations that we didn't know how to deal with, and that we had to sit in meditation or prayer, or that we had to reach out to someone,
or
to
read
a coach,
something,
or read something.
Yeah.
You don't know how many TED Talks I've watched. I mean, how many motivational videos I have seen consistently just to get myself out of a low. You know how many books I've had to read just to have some guidance on how to be successful mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally. That's not something we just were magically born with. Magically, we just got it. We all have the ability.
Well, technically, we were born with it.
Yeah.
But life has conditioned us to feel certain ways and react certain ways to situations.
Exactly.
And it's human. It's human.
Yeah.
It's human nature to have certain feelings and emotions regarding certain situations. But
definitely. And I mean, you're not weak for reaching out.
No.
And for asking for support. I mean, everyone does. Everyone has input because they've gone through probably the same things you have, or something that they can relate to you with. And I think that being able to embrace every part of your journey allows you to enjoy the ride and allows you to grow, because you can't grow if you are not accepting and appreciating the lows. They are probably the things that have helped me the most in my journey, and it's part of what has taught me many, many, many lessons that I wouldn't have learned just by going up. I mean, if you just rise and you're just going up and you have everything you want, where's the lesson in that? There's no growth that comes from that. There's just, okay, cool, I have everything. That's great. What
I keep thinking every time you say, if all we did was rise, there's nothing from that. Like, you reach a point and there's just nothing from that. And I think of bread. Because you know they want the dough to rise, but it only rises to a certain point, and then you stick it in the oven, right?
Yeah.
And it transforms into something we eat.
Absolutely.
And that's its end. So in life, if we rise and rise and rise, eventually we're just at the point where, guess what? It's time to go.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And
really, I've done so much research on successful people, and they'll even talk about how they need their falls, they need their companies to fail, or they need, ratings to go down. They need something to happen in order to keep them growing. Because imagine a person that has grown so much, they reach full success. I mean, their company is worth millions of dollars. What does that person have now, right? If that's their end point, then they're miserable because they're not growing anymore. You feed off of constantly growing. You can only feel fulfillment when you're growing every second of every day forever, not just to reach a certain point.
Yeah.
And I think that people think that it's just for a destination, right? Like, oh, I got here and I'm good, now I'm happy. Just like I thought, I was like, oh, I totally reached it, got it, I have all the tools, and then all of a sudden I reached a low. And you have to understand that those lows are giving you the tools to continue expanding, to continue growing. And even successful people that you think have it all don't, when they reach a point where they feel like they're not growing anymore. They also have to find ways to continue growing, to making their brand better, making themselves better, so that they can continue on this roller coaster of life. Because if they stay stagnant, even if stagnant means millionaire, like you have $1 million, millions of dollars, doesn't mean that you have fulfillment or happiness. And
happiness is something that, if it's outside of you, you're always going to want to grow. You're always going to want to achieve something more because your happiness is associated with that. But when you reach a state where that happiness is within you, it goes with you everywhere. So in that sense, you may reach a certain level and you may not want to continue to grow a certain level outside of you because you already have that happiness within you. But that's also the state that's very difficult to reach because that's what the sages in India try to preach, right? That ananda, that bliss, that internal happiness, because you carry it with you everywhere. And if that internal happiness is something that's associated with an outside factor, you're always going to want to keep going higher.
Yeah.
Until you reach that point. But when you reach that point of it being inside, you can actually that's why they're happy just living off of nothing.
Exactly.
You know, where they're at because they have it inside of...
It's so important because when you find that happiness inside of you still have to make sure that you're constantly growing. And I think that that's where people get confused because they're associating these external things with growth, and that's not true.
Yeah.
Like, growth comes from within. That's why those people will reach a certain point and then feel like, oh, okay, well, the fulfillment's over, right? Like, you need to constantly grow as a human being so that you can feel this type of bliss and fulfillment. If you're not constantly growing and constantly figuring out more ways that you can be a better version of yourself, you're gonna feel empty or lonely, or like if you don't have enough. It doesn't matter if you have everything you've ever dreamed of.
Yeah.
It matters that you are a person that can acquire those gifts and talents and actually spread it with the world and commit to growing every day. Because if you're stagnant, you don't feel fulfillment because you don't feel like you're accomplishing anything. Even if you have everything that you're physically accomplishing, you're not feeling a sense of growth. And I think that because there are so many materialistic things now, people are losing sight of the fact that having this roller coaster of life is awesome. It's fun.
And it becomes very bumpy for them.
It does.
When they associate it with something outside of them. It's a constant like, whoo, I got it. Oh man, but I don't have that internal happiness.
Yeah.
I'm going back down. And then, oh, let's set my sight on something else. Oh, I got it. Oh, but now, because that inside happiness isn't growing with that outside happiness.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that when it comes to your life and how you envision it, you have to make sure that your goal is more than just external, and that your life should be vision. It should be viewed as a roller coaster, not because you understand that there's going to be highs and lows, but because you have to understand that you should enjoy it, right? Like, it's not meant to be, oh, this is a high, woo, oh my god,
yeah,
no, this is such a low. It's meant to sit down and say, okay, like, this is a low, this acknowledging
and its presence in your life.
Exactly. Yeah. I feel sad, I feel angry. Why do I feel angry?
Exactly.
What is this low for, right? Like, why am I going through this? What lessons can I take from this? Acknowledging the fact that you will experience lows, and also that it's not going to be the last low that you're going to feel.
Yeah.
And that low does not equal negative. It's part of your growth, and when you acknowledge it and take the lessons from it, you won't experience that low ever again, because you already get all of the lessons you needed from it. You'll experience another low, but of a completely different situation.
And it's also important to remember that the roller coaster of life, that's your ride. Ashley's ride is different than my ride.
Definitely.
And it's important to know that I'm checking the camera, I see blinking on the top.
Still on, yeah.
It's important to know that you can't have other people's expectations on your ride. Because that's gonna totally derail you off the roller coaster. Because the happiness you're seeking is now based on someone else's expectations of you, and you have to remember that everyone's ride is different.
Yeah, you have to make it into what you would enjoy. What makes you happy, and understand that you don't have control over the highs and the lows. You're gonna experience both, and both are gonna be absolutely incredible and fun, but only if you perceive them as such. And it's not about never having down. It's about understanding that you're gonna have it and you're gonna experience it, and you might as well take all the lessons from it, because if you don't, you're gonna experience the same type of low over and over again, and you're gonna wonder why, and you're gonna use it as confirmation as you being not good enough. Like, oh man, you know, every guy I'm with just leaves me. They break up with me every single time, and you know, I guess I'm just worthless. And maybe that's not necessarily true. Maybe you're going through those lows so that you can learn from them and realize why exactly you are even going through those lows constantly. And maybe you need to learn more about yourself to know how you can ascend from that low. It's all structured and put in your life for a reason. Even if you don't have control over it, you do have control over how you take it and how you grow from it. And then that's how you ascend higher. Because if you go and experience the same low over and over again, you're almost gonna stay in this neutral position. You're not gonna rise higher, because you're like, oh, I got left again. Oh, I got left again. Oh, I got left again.
It will always cycle back, until you learn the lesson, or until you grow from the lesson, it's always going to return full circle.
Absolutely.
Just like the seasons, they return each year. It's a cycle.
Yeah. And you have to take them and learn from them and embrace them.
Yeah.
I remember the lows for me used to be really, really low. I remember not knowing how to deal with my emotions and the things I was struggling with. And now I'm at a point where I'm like so excited for the lows in a sense, because I'm like, oh, I know that what comes after that is gonna be crazy. Like, I know every time now that I experience a low, where I rise to is just like above my expectations. I have goals for myself, and then I overreach them because of the lows that I experience, because I'm sitting in the low like, this shit sucks, but you know, there's a lot of lessons here. You know, there's a lot of things that I can carry with me when I rise, right? And that's literally what I say to myself, because I am having faith that I will rise above this situation.
And I think that's what people forget when they're in the low, because one, they haven't learned the lesson, and so it's harder for them to grasp that there is going to be a high after, right? Like, you're at a point, you've gone through so many lessons, right? So you've ascended so high, so now you can actually distinguish when you're in a low, and that you know that there's going to be a high after that.
Definitely.
And
for sure.
And that's part of the patience. That's part of that saying, patience is a virtue, because you start becoming more patient with yourself and knowing that there's a lesson, and with that patience, that awareness grows, so that you can distinguish that, okay, I realize I'm checking in with myself, because literally it is a knowledge of self that you're starting this ascent. Yeah. And it takes a lot for you to become aware, to tell yourself that, okay, I'm in this low, I don't want to be here. What do I need to do to get out of this point? Because I know that beyond this point is something better or something higher.
And if you take the lesson quick, it will end quick.
Yeah.
Because if you're just like, oh, I'm in a low, I don't know why, I'm here and this sucks and thanks a lot, man. Thanks God. You know, here we go again. If you're talking like that, you're gonna be in that low for a while. So get comfortable there, because it's not gonna just disappear. And then you're gonna feel like if your life is low, right? Oh, I'm just always in lows, or I'm just always the victim, I'm just always here. And you're always here because of that talk, right? Like how you're talking about that situation is just attracting more low.
Exactly.
It's more negative energy, and it's gonna manifest. But if you're literally like, oh, here's another low, let's go. Like, I'm so ready. Even if it is something that makes you sad, I cry and I hurt, I struggle. I mean, we both sit and talk about the things that we're dealing with or struggling with, because that never ends. You're always gonna face obstacles, and they turn into opportunities because of how you view them. And every time I reach a low now, I'm like, oh, if I get the lesson here quick, then I'm going to get the high very quick. And then when I'm in the high, I know it's not going to last forever. So what do? I'm not like, oh, this is
you don't sit around and wait for the low. No. Like, you enjoy the moment.
Enjoy the high.
Exactly.
Enjoy it. Like, I'm not going to say, you know what, oh my God, I know
I'm up here,
great, but I know I'm going to feel the low tomorrow. No, like, you are, there you go again, attracting the low, right?
Yes.
You're in a high, you enjoy that high, every second of it. And when you lose that,
technical difficulties, we're gonna say goodbye now. Thank you for watching.
Thank you guys so
Honest Tea Talks. Please tune in next Tuesday.
Yes. Like, share, comment, subscribe if you haven't already.
Follow us on social media
at Peña_Pequeña.
at love.soul.fit. And we will see you next week.
Bye.
Love you.